This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. All right, let's go ahead and open up the doors to Daily with Doc and Becca. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pharmacist Fridays. So I'm so excited as on Fridays, we welcome an amazing pharmacist who has been teaching nutrition even before he got fired from being a pharmacist at Kmart. But he has continued to be strong in the message and sharing with people how they themselves can use nutrition to benefit themselves. Because, as he puts it, pharmaceuticals are what they wish they are. So for pharmaceuticals, okay, nutrition is what they wish they could be. Because the body can utilize the nutrition, and to a point where as you continually put nutrition in the body, the cells get stronger and healthier, so they don't need those little pharmaceuticals in most cases. Today, we are going to be learning even more about specific functions of the body and how we, as empowered individuals, are able to feed ourselves through intentional nutrition so that everything works better together. So folks, if you are finding this program all on your own, we just want to make sure that you are getting the support that you deserve in making sure that you know exactly what to take based on the teachings of Dr. Joel Wallach. So I do have a call team that's available for those who have never tried the products, who have never spoken to anybody about anything that we talk about on our show at 855-949-3377. This program is being sponsored by Daily with Doc, where we do have a website, DailywithDoc.com, where we have a good foods, bad foods list. We have replays of our previous programming. We also have a store that offers everything that we talk about on this program when it comes to supplementation that actually works. Not just putting a bunch of stuff in your body and hoping that it's more than just, yellow colored pee. We actually have found a program and a company that has products that really do what they're supposed to do within the body. And I'm living proof of that. So you can also check out my story on the website, DailywithDoc.com, and more about our guests, at least two of our guests. We have some more that we're going to be adding as well as we are continuing to grow the Daily with Doc content. Because, folks, there's so many people out there that are so knowledgeable and have found the benefits of what we speak to implement it and include it in their own practices. And it's not just about practicing medicine, folks. It's about actually providing solutions to the things that are issues in today's societies around the world. So without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to be able to bring to the screen with me the one and only Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, who you're looking really good today, Ben.
Thank you. My light's good.
Got the hair going.
Yeah. Thank
everything,
you.
And you're just looking vibrant. So
thank you. I appreciate that. Good to see you, and thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you to everybody on the call. I was really excited about Doc's new book, and I ordered it. I haven't gotten it yet, but I'm really excited about it. Thank you, Doc. I don't know how you keep doing it, Dr. Wallach. One time I asked Dr. Wallach how he writes books. And he said, oh, it's easy. I just sit there and I type. And I was like, as if it were so easy. I've been trying to write books for many years, but Doc's got a lot of stuff to say, and he writes a lot of great books. My favorite book of Doc is Epigenetics by far, because it's like a history book. And I love history. And Doc loves history. In fact, all his books utilize take advantage of history. And I absolutely love the book Epigenetics. It's the subtitle is The Death of the Genetic Theory of Disease Transmission, but really it's like a walkthrough of the history of medicine and the history of therapeutics. Super, super fascinating if you like anthropology and if you like history, as well as if you like health and nutrition and biochemistry. But until Epigenetics came out, and now my second favorite book of Dr. Wallach's is Hell's Kitchen. And I was looking around for my copy of Hell's Kitchen. I couldn't find it, so I ordered another one, Doc. Hell's Kitchen and the new book are both about a subject that I find extremely fascinating, as does Doc, apparently, and understandably so. And this is a condition that I first heard about maybe 25, 30 years ago as a condition. I knew about it from a biochemical perspective, but as a health challenge, it became kind of known about, or at least recognized, in the late 20th century, early part of the 2000s. They used to call it Syndrome X, which I found very fascinating as the name Syndrome X. Today, they call it metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is a super fascinating type, a moniker for health challenge, because metabolism is the sum total of biochemical reactions in the body. Basically, metabolism is everything. And a syndrome is the term that we give multiple symptoms that are associated with some basic biochemical breakdown. So syndrome is multiple symptoms associated with a biochemical breakdown. Metabolism is all the biochemistry in the body. So metabolic syndrome, by definition, is a bunch of symptoms that are associated with everything in the body. That's what metabolic syndrome is, everything. You might as well call it everything syndrome. I often tell this joke, but it's not a joke. It's kind of funny, but it really is serious. How we have 44,000 different disease diagnoses, but there's really only one disease. There's all these various acronyms we have and Latin designations, Latin names for different different things that happen into the body, biochemical pathologies. But there's really only one disease. We call it MBFA disease. AJ, what's MBFA disease? The only disease there is.
My body's falling apart.
My body is falling apart disease. That's the only disease there is. My body is falling apart. That's the only thing there is. The body just falls apart. And by falling apart, I'm not necessarily talking about the structure part of the body. I'm talking about the chemistry of the body, the metabolism of the body. So technically, metabolic syndrome is my body falling apart disease. And so while I make a joke about it, it's really not a joke. It's a serious biochemical pathology. And it affects every single one of the symptoms of the body. And the most classic cause of it, and really the cause that's attributed to all these biochemical breakdowns is dysglycemia. Not diabetes, but dysglycemia. Dysglycemia means messed up blood sugar, disturbed blood sugar. And the reason I make a distinction between dysglycemia and diabetes is because diabetes has an official criteria, which is measured in the amount of sugar that's in the blood. So if you reach that amount, which is about 120, I think it's 120 milligrams per deciliter of blood, sugar per deciliter of blood, you're officially diabetic. But if you're 119.999, you're not a diabetic. So that crossover is just an arbitrary number that will all of a sudden put you in a completely different health category. So if you don't cross over, you're not in that health category. But if you have just a drop more or a molecule more or a speck more or a grain more of sugar in your blood, all of a sudden you're in a completely different diagnostic and health category with different insurance and different medication and different doctors and different everything. And that arbitrary distinction doesn't serve us, because a lot of people have just messed up blood sugar, dys meaning messed up, glycemia, blood sugar, have dysglycemia and have all of the symptoms associated with dysglycemia, which I'll talk about here in a second, but are not diagnosed as a diabetic. And they'll have obesity issues or cardiovascular issues or hypertension issues or other inflammatory issues associated with dysglycemia. And the doctor will say you're perfectly normal. And they will miss an opportunity to correct their blood sugar before they get to be diagnosed as a diabetic. So you don't want to pay attention to the diagnosis of diabetes. And this is another very important subject. Your diagnosis doesn't matter from a healing perspective because all diseases are basically the same thing. They're just showing up in different parts of the body. So metabolic syndrome is the end result of disturbances in blood sugar. And disturbances in blood sugar are reflected in, obviously, in blood sugar, poor blood sugar control, elevated blood sugar concentration, but it's also marked by elevated insulin, which is due to the fact that the body becomes resistant to insulin as a signal, so the pancreas pumps out more insulin to get the signal, to increase the volume on the signal. But as it's pumping out more insulin, has its own, elevated insulin has its own health problems because insulin is an inflammatory factor and a growth factor and inspires cell division. So elevated insulin is also a problem separate from dysglycemia. Both dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar, and insulin, elevated insulin or insulin resistance are the key components to metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome most famously affects the liver, causing fatty liver disease or fatty liver. 1 out of 3 Americans are dealing with fatty liver. 100 million plus Americans have a fatty liver issue. That creates a whole nother spectrum of health challenges because the liver is involved in hundreds of different functions of the body, from detoxification to nutrient storage to helping the body process fats and sugars. So metabolic syndrome most prominently affects the liver, leading to a whole slew of liver health challenges. Metabolic syndrome affects the cardiovascular system, leading to heart disease. It's not cholesterol that's responsible for heart disease. It's elevated blood sugars, dysglycemia, and hyperinsulinemia. I'm going to use that term. That's the more scientific term for elevated insulin. Hyper, meaning a lot or too much or excess. Insulin is insulin. Emia always means blood. Whenever you hear emia, it's the blood, like dysglycemia, hyperinsulinemia. Hyperinsulinemia and dysglycemia are the key components to metabolic syndrome, and they affect, as I say, the cardiovascular system and the liver. That will also affect blood fats, triglycerides, and cholesterol. And this is the reason why cholesterol levels go up. The main reason why cholesterol levels go up. It's not that the body's crazy and just cranking out cholesterol. It's because of the dysglycemia. Sugar and insulin are both growth substances, and they trick the body into growing. Cholesterol is a growth substance. So elevated insulin and dysglycemia will lead to increases in cholesterol because the body thinks it's supposed to be building. You don't need a statin drug. You need to be controlling the blood sugar. You need to be dealing with dysglycemia. Doctors say, oh, cholesterol causes heart disease. No, it doesn't. It's the blood sugar that causes the elevated cholesterol that's causing the heart disease. So metabolic syndrome, which is a function of dysglycemia and hyperinsulinemia, liver disease, cardiovascular health issues, skin conditions, dementia, Alzheimer's disease, autoimmunity, pretty much anything that goes wrong in the body in terms of chronic conditions can be backtracked to this metabolic syndrome condition. And that includes what we're going to talk about today, which is kidney disease. Kidney disease is a well-known function of dysglycemia, hyperinsulinemia, and metabolic syndrome. And chronic kidney disease should be regarded as such. And this all boils down to this idea that we have, and we always talk about it, of simplifying health. If you understand that all these health challenges are due to a basic common cause, you can take care of all of the different rotten or decaying leaves, which each symptom represents, with one fell swoop. You know, there was I don't know, have you ever heard the story of the Gordian knot? The Gordian knot, Gordia was a country. Alexander the Great, well, let's backtrack here. Alexander the Great was one of the greatest conquerors in the history of the world. He built one of the builders of the Greek Empire. He was from Macedonia, which is one of the regions in Greece, and he was a great empire. And he actually died at a very young age, Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was 33 when he died. As great as he was, and his name is reverberated through history, but he was only really alive for 33 years. And famously, when he died, he said, and this is a true quote, he said, "I am dying by the hands of too many doctors. He literally said that in the 3rd century or the 4th century BC. So, the issues that we have with the medical model go back a long, long way. Anyway, Alexander the Great was also a very bright guy. He was tutored by Aristotle, who's one of the most famous. Is Aristotle or Socrates? One of the most. He was tutored by, I think it was Aristotle, who's one of the most famous philosophers that ever lived. And Alexander the Great was very, very bright. And when he was doing his conquering business, he came to a country called Gordia. And when he got to this country of Gordia, he wanted to conquer Gordia like he conquered all these other countries. And he got to the country and he saw this knot on a tree right outside the country, right on the border. I think it was Gordian, Greece. There was a knot, a huge, thick, complicated knot. And he said, "What is this?" And the people, his soldiers said, "Oh, that's the Gordian knot. Anybody who can untie this knot, anybody who can loosen this knot, or anybody who can free this knot, according to legend, will become the emperor of Gordia." And Alexander said, "Oh, really?" And they said, "Yeah, people have been trying to get rid of this knot for over a century, and nobody can figure it out. But if anybody can figure out how to loosen this knot, they will become emperor of Gordia." And remember, Alexander the Great, he's a smart guy. He was tutored by Aristotle. He said, "Okay." And he took his sword, boom, he sliced open the knot. And he said, "There, I'm the emperor of Gordia." And that's the story of the Gordian knot. And the moral is, you don't have to spend a lot of time untying a knot. You take your knife and you cut it. And that's how you get rid of a knot. And that's the same thing about the medical model. And that's the same thing about health. That's the same thing about how you take care of your body. You don't have to go to this specialist and that specialist and take this drug and that drug and follow this protocol and that protocol and this diet, this diet and this formulation, blah, 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 blah. You take your knife and you cut open the Gordian knot by addressing the triangle of disease. And even more simply, the 2 points of disease, the digestive system and the blood sugar system. And we just got through talking about how metabolic syndrome affects all the various parts of the body. Well, it turns out, and metabolic syndrome is associated with dysglycemia and hyperinsulinemia, messed up blood sugar and elevated insulin. But it turns out that messed up blood sugar and elevated insulin are both food issues and digestive issues. So simply by controlling those 2 points, you can eliminate your fatty liver. You can eliminate your kidney issues. You can eliminate your hypertension. You can eliminate your cardiovascular disease. You can reduce your risks of cancer. You can improve mental health and dementia. Every single system in the body will improve. Every single health challenge in the body will improve. Every single symptom in the body will improve just by working on those 2 points. We got to stop overthinking. It's very, very simple, and it all has to do with the blood. All disease is cell disease, and all cell disease is a function of dirty blood. Now, we're talking about the kidneys here, and the kidneys do a few different things, but their main role in the body is to clean the blood. So if you have kidney disease, you're going to have a serious problem because you're not going to be able to clean your blood. And all disease is a function of dirty blood. So dirty blood follows kidney disease. And this is why working with the kidneys is so important. And this is why God gave us so much redundancy in the kidneys. You got 2 kidneys, and they're both, it's like you have an extra. You can make do with 1 kidney, but you have an extra. And even with 1 kidney, you can be 80%, you have 80% breakdown in kidney function and not even know it. It's not until you get into like, I only have 90% or 95 or 85% breakdown where you start to really run into problems. Yet 10% of Americans have significant chronic kidney disease. That's 30 million plus Americans have chronic kidney disease. Clearly, we're doing something wrong here because we're not focusing on the root and the soil when we want to take care of the fruit and the leaves. You got to take care of the root and the soil, and then everything else will fall into place. Much like you just take your knife and you just cut the Gordian knot. And everything else freezes, and everything else is free. Real quickly on the kidneys are basically a spaghetti strainer for the blood, and the holes in your spaghetti strainer are represented by tiny, microscopically small blood vessels, capillaries. And these microscopically small capillaries function to filter the blood. The blood flows through the capillaries, and stuff that's not supposed to be in the blood gets excreted out of the blood through the capillaries. And this is how doctors diagnose kidney disease. If stuff is in your urine, particularly proteins in the urine or big cells are in the urine, that's when they'll decide that's when they'll assess that your kidneys aren't doing their job. They'll use various numbers like GFR, glomerular filtration rate, which is how fast the blood is being filtered through the kidneys. They'll use something called BUN, which is a measurement of how much nitrogen is in the blood compared to how much nitrogen should be in the blood. They'll measure blood proteins in the urine. There's various tests that they can use to assess creatinine clearance, how well creatinine is being eliminated out of the blood. They have various measurements, but basically they're measurements of how well the kidneys are doing their functioning, doing their filtering job because of their role as a filter. So obviously that's a very important role. If you recognize that that dirty blood is behind all health challenges, if you have your filter is all clogged up, just like think of your air filter in your car. If your air filter is in your car, that's going to destroy is clogged up in your car. That's going to destroy your engine. Likewise with the kidney, but the kidney does more than that. The kidney also controls acid-base balance. And acid, low pH, is associated with disease because acid makes things move very fast. Acid is a waste product. The blood has to keep a pH, or the body has to keep the blood pH, the blood's acid level, slightly alkaline. I don't want to get into too much of a digression here. I want to make sure we take questions, but real quickly, the pH of the blood, the acid level of the blood has to be just alkaline. The pH scale, for those of you who don't know, it runs from 0 to 14, where 0 is extremely acid, 14 is extremely non-acid. Alkaline, we say, that's non-acid. So you have acid alkaline, acid non-acid. Acid is 0, 14 is alkaline, and on the spectrum, you go from acid to alkaline, with 7 being neutral. 0 to 7 is the acid side, 7 to 14 is the alkaline side. The blood has to be slightly alkaline. The blood pH is kept tightly regulated. The blood is the sacred space. It has a consistency and a composition and a chemical nature that is tightly regulated, that exists within an extremely tight window. Nothing should ever get into the blood that disturbs it, and there's many mechanisms for keeping the blood clean, the kidney being the main one. If the kidney is not doing its work, and remember, we're not going to know that we have a kidney problem unless we get diagnosed and we go to the doctor and we have tests done. We're not going to know we have a kidney problem until we're at 15% or at 20% or maybe 25%. Your kidneys could be breaking down and still doing a good enough job, but they may not be filtering or controlling the acid of the blood. And you're just going to feel generally sick. Acid blood feels like a hangover. So if you're just feeling like you're just tired and lethargic and you're getting colds all the time, or you're getting other health challenges, including cancer, this can be a function of acid blood, which in turn is a function of kidney disease or undiagnosed kidney disease, which is in turn a function of metabolic syndrome, which is in turn related to food. And all of this is linked to the blood, is linked to diseases that are associated with the blood, which can all be controlled by working on food and working on the blood sugar system. Diseases are also associated with acid blood. When the blood pH changes, blood pH has to be at 7.38, not 7.37, not 7.39, 7.38. When the blood pH changes, the blood will change its composition or its consistency. When the blood becomes more acid, the proteins in the blood will start to get coagulated and sticky, and the blood won't move effectively. When the blood doesn't move effectively, it's not going to perfuse or flow through the kidneys as effectively. Now the kidneys aren't going to work as well, leading to more dirty blood, leading more to more acidity, leading more coagulation and clotted blood, leading to less perfusion of the kidneys, leading to more. See how this tumbles out of control? All because of the sugar in the food. The kidneys are also responsible for activating vitamin D. So with kidney disease, you're going to be less efficient in activating your vitamin D. Remember, vitamin D is not something you just take orally and it works. Vitamin D has to be activated. So the next time somebody tells you that taking vitamin D supplements is just as good as the vitamin D that you get from the sun, you know they don't understand activation. See, vitamin D that comes from the sun, most of you guys know that you get vitamin D by solar exposure to your skin cells. The vitamin D that hits your skin cells, that doesn't need to be activated. But the vitamin D you eat does. So if you have a kidney problem, a liver problem, it's activating the kidney and the liver, you're going to run into vitamin D deficiency issues, and that's going to cause another whole slew of health challenges, including bone problems, connective tissue issues, immune issues, digestive issues, pretty much every cell in the body, cardiovascular issues, mental health issues. Pretty much every cell in the body responds to vitamin D. Calcium issues. Vitamin D is responsible for calcium absorption. So if you have kidney issues, you're not going to be activating your vitamin D. You're not going to be able to absorb your calcium as effectively. Now you're going to run into all the issues of low calcium. You're going to keep taking your calcium, but it's not going to matter because you're not going to be able to absorb it. So the kidneys also control blood pressure. They're responsible for control blood pressure. The kidneys are also responsible for the production of a molecule called erythropoietin, which helps you make more blood cells. You may have heard of erythropoietin if you're a bicycle racer, because bicycle racers, sometimes illegally, will inject themselves with this stuff. They call that blood doping. So the kidneys are responsible for healthy blood. They're responsible for blood pressure. They're responsible for filtering the blood. They're responsible for the production of vitamin D, which is associated with calcium. There are all of these different roles to play, and if you're dealing with kidney disease, which you may not even know, you're going to end up with all kinds of health challenges. This is why they call it metabolic syndrome, everything syndrome, MBFA disease, everything disease. So then what do? That's the answer. What do? You got kidney issues, you got kidney disease. Obviously, the first thing you do is you work on your blood sugar. Kidney disease should be considered as a blood sugar disease. 70% of kidney disease, chronic kidney disease patients have diabetes or dysglycemia that we know of, probably more. Another 10 or 15% have hypertension, high blood pressure. And because the kidney disease hypertension can cause kidney disease, and kidney disease can make hypertension worse, it just goes into this downward vicious spiral. So work on the blood sugar. Kidney disease should be treated as a blood sugar issue. How do you work on the blood sugar? Well, obviously, everybody probably knows this. You reduce your intake of sugar. And that doesn't mean just sugar, like cakes and pies and soda pop and energy drinks and fruit juice. And make no mistake about it, today's fruits are not grown to be health foods. Today's fruits are sugar bombs. The body did not grow up on the African savanna from an evolutionary perspective with big apples like this. It grew up with crab apples like this. You ever seen a crab apple? Anybody ever bite into a crab apple? It ain't the same as the kind of apple that you get at Safeway or King Soopers. Oranges and melons and these super sweet fruits that we all love so much, they do have some nutritional value, but over the course of thousands of years of agricultural modification, genetic modification, the sugars, the medicinal and nutritional elements, which tend to be bitter, have been filtered out of the oranges and the apples and the melons, and the sugar content has been increased. So sugars are not a health food, although there's some nutritional value there. You can't consider them a health food. So laying off of those, laying off of the frankly full-blown sugary foods, you need to your kidney disease patient needs to do that, or your metabolic syndrome patient has to do that. But also the sneaky places where you have sugars. Breads and pasta and rice and potatoes. And guess what? If you like it, it's probably the sugar. So it's the comfort foods that we all love that have the sugars. The disguised sugars, whether it's in the grains and the flours and the cereals, or the full-blown sugary foods like the desserts, the treats that we give ourselves, and that includes fruits. And by the way, fruit juices are the worst because at least with the fruits, you get the fiber that helps slow down the release of the sugar. But when you do a fruit juice, you lose the fiber. So fruit juices are especially problematic. So that's the first thing you do with metabolic syndrome or with kidney disease is you go ketogenic or maybe go paleo. or you just reduce your intake of fast-burning sugars, and that's the flours and the starchy foods and the full-blown dessert type foods, and the soda pop and the fruit juice. And then you get yourself on what I consider to be the most important, well, one of the most important of all the packs that we have, and that's the healthy blood sugar pack. The healthy blood sugar pack has the Sweeties, which is a absolute rock star nutritional supplement. Everybody who's being diagnosed with kidney disease needs to be on the healthy blood sugar pack. The Sweeties is a rock star, not just for sugar, but also for blood fats, for people who have elevated cholesterol, elevated triglycerides, or fatty liver disease, or metabolic syndrome, anything with metabolic syndrome. Healthy blood sugar pack. I like throwing in the ultimate niacin with the healthy blood sugar pack, because niacin is super important for helping, for sensitizing insulin. There's a complex of molecules in the body called the glucose tolerance factor, the GTF. The GTF, the glucose tolerance factor, helps the body process sugar. And the glucose tolerance factor is partially composed of niacin and partially composed of chromium. That's why the Sweeties is so important. And by the way, props to Dr. Wallach, because these days a lot of people know about chromium and vanadium for blood sugar. Doc knew about it, well, at least 30 years ago when I first started formulating, but I'm sure Doc knew about it before then even. So yet another example of how prescient and how ahead of the curve and ahead of the times Dr. Wallach's philosophies and ideas are. The Sweeties exemplifies that. So the healthy blood sugar pack, it has all the Mighty 90 essential nutrient supplements, plus it's got the Sweeties, plus it has the ultimate selenium. The ultimate selenium is important for insulin. The ultimate MSM, sulfur, also plays a role in making insulin stronger. And then I always throw in the ultimate niacin, which is part of not only the glucose tolerance factor, but niacin is also a major lipolytic. Lipo means fat, lytic means busting, destroying. Lipolytics destroy fat, and niacin is very important for destroying fats in the blood, triglycerides specifically, but people have used niacin for weight loss, or niacin to help deal with fatty liver disease, or niacin to deal with lipidemia and various other lipid dysfunctions in the body. So, and the ultimate niacin is one of the most important nutrients you could take for the cardiovascular system, for the heart and for the blood vessels. So I was throwing the ultimate niacin. And then you always want to treat for maximum effectiveness for treating blood sugar issues, dysglycemia and hyperinsulinemia. We got to go to the first point on the triangle of disease, which is the digestive system. SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, that is associated with messed up blood sugar, dysglycemia, also with metabolic syndrome, because if it's associated with dysglycemia. So you got to correct SIBO issues. That's where your I-26 comes in. The I-26 kills the excess bacteria in the small intestine. Bile, as we talked about last week, plays an important role in blood sugar control. Bile actually acts like a hormone to help the body process sugar. If you're dealing with sluggish bile, or you don't have a gallbladder, God forbid, those can be problems. And that's where the ultimate enzymes come in. There's also a wonderful supplement, which is a nutrient, which is in the supplement Synaptive, which we should probably talk about one of these days, called choline. Doc's been talking about choline for forever, since I started listening to him, as important for the brain, which it is. This is why eggs are such an important, one of the reasons why eggs are such an important food for the brain, such important brain food, because it's rich in choline, among other things, including cholesterol. So choline is in the synaptive, and choline can help support bile flow. The ultimate enzymes, by the way, are not just important for the digestive system, not just important for the stomach, but not just important for the gallbladder, for the liver, because of the bile, but the ultimate enzymes can also clean the blood. They have a blood cleaning effect for people who are dealing with metabolic syndrome, dealing with hypertension, dealing with dirty blood issues following kidney disease. But you have to take the ultimate enzymes on an empty stomach for that to happen. Another really good nutrient on the subject of cleaning the blood, which also has benefits for blood sugar and dysglycemia, is the Fucoid Z. My favorite non-Mighty 90 essential nutrient longevity supplement is the Fucoid Z. So many wonderful benefits, but for our purposes here today, it helps clean the blood. It helps thin the blood. Ultimate EFAs, by the way, will also thin the blood. And before anybody freaks out about thinning the blood, because sometimes people say, oh, I don't want to thin my blood. My doctor told me I can't thin the blood, blah, blah, blah. You need to thin the blood so that it can flow effectively, not only through the kidneys to keep the kidneys healthy, but also so it can deliver nutrients. Thinning the blood is the antidote to dirty blood. When we say dirty blood, I say dirty blood, but it really means thick, sludgy blood. And the ultimate enzymes will do that as well. So for metabolic syndrome, for kidney disease, which is a function of metabolic syndrome, focus on A, blood sugar health, that is blood sugar and insulin, and 2, digestive health. And that's for kidney disease, full-blown kidney disease, or even mild kidney disease, or even if you haven't been diagnosed with kidney disease, just to keep your kidneys healthy. Also, by the way, drinking lots of water also helps, not only by increasing the volume of the blood, but also by allowing more blood to flow through the kidneys. So drinking water is also a good strategy for healthy kidneys. And always when you're drinking water, and real quickly, none of us drink enough water. I have to remind myself to drink more water. Hunger, if you're one of those people that snacks a lot, you can take care of a lot of hunger cravings and food cravings by drinking more water. You get more energy in the morning if you drink water first thing in the morning, and it's better for your kidneys. So one of the problems associated with kidneys is with kidney disease is when the kidneys don't get enough blood. When the kidneys don't get enough blood, when they don't have enough perfusion, and that can not only cause chronic kidney disease, but if it's like you're losing a lot of blood and you don't get any blood in the kidneys, or perfusion dramatically drops, that's where you get acute kidney disease. The kidney diseases depend on blood flow. Sludgy blood, dirty blood, slow blood, sluggishly moving blood are going to have a long-term effect, but drinking more water can help the kidneys almost right away. That's why first thing in the morning you want to be drinking water. And then focusing on digestive health, especially leaky gut, SIBO, bile issues. I forgot to mention histamine, which we've talked about. I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Histamine, which comes through the blood, through a leaky gut, and it gets into the blood, is associated with kidney disease. Little pieces of bacteria that can get into the bloodstream through a leaky gut. These little pieces of bacteria are called lipopolysaccharides, or LPSs. They're also associated with kidney disease. People who have irritable bowel syndrome, ulcerative colitis, various other Crohn's disease are all at higher risk for kidney disease. So focusing on the digestive system with all the strategies that we talk about, nutritional strategies in terms of supplements, as well as food strategies in terms of food elimination, is important. Don't overthink. We smart people, the number one health issue that we suffer from, overthinkitis. Don't overthink. And this is really important for our clients, because we're in the culture of health. So, maybe it's kind of interesting for us to talk about metabolic mechanisms and all of the different biochemicals that are associated with the disease process. But for our clients and our customers, they don't even know any of this. Kidney disease is metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is dysglycemia and hyperinsulinemia. If you have dysglycemia and hyperinsulinemia, you approach it from 2 points. Number 1, the blood sugar through foods and supplements. Number 2, the digestive system through foods and supplements. That's it. Simple as that. And not only will you be improving your kidney function, but you'll also be improving your mental health function. You'll be improving your immune function. You'll be improving your skin health. You'll be improving your liver health. You'll be improving your cardiovascular health. You'll be reducing the likelihood that you're going to end up dealing with some kind of inflammatory or autoimmune disease, as well as reducing your risks of cancer. And make no mistake about it, cancer is the end result of the breakdowns at the level of the triangle. That is the blood sugar system, the digestive system, the blood sugar system, and the adrenal thyroid complex. And I didn't talk about the third point in the triangle disease for simplicity's sake, but just so you know, elevated cortisol, elevated stress hormone, is also associated with kidney disease. And hypothyroidism is also associated with kidney disease. I didn't mention it because by working on the first 2 points in the triangle of disease, your adrenal glands will naturally be restored to normalcy. There's probably some psychological and mental health things that you have to do for the adrenal glands too, but from a physical perspective, working on the digestive system and the blood sugar system will improve adrenal health and will improve thyroid health as well. Digestion, blood sugar, digestion, blood sugar, digestion, blood sugar. All right. That's our talk on kidney disease, you guys. And I'll be happy to take questions, not only on kidney disease, but on any other subjects.
A lot of information, Pharmacist Ben Fuchs.
So I tried to simplify it.
Well, I think you do a great job of taking complicated topics, putting it in a way that people can actually understand, which is why people just love you. Because you are brilliant, yet you're able to take things and make such a complex topic.
I appreciate you saying that. I always cringe a little when people say I'm brilliant, because I know I'm not, but thank you. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that.
Well, you go deep with simplicity, and I love and appreciate that. And I know our listeners and viewers do as well, as we are always getting emails and comments, whether we're in the Zoom or on any of the different platforms, of how much they appreciate you and Dr. Wallach for taking time to continually share information that allows us to be able to take that information and implement solutions.
All right.
So
thank you. I'm very grateful. Thank you. I appreciate your kind words. Hey, I want to ask a question real quick. Well, I see Rod Wiggins is here. Coach Rod, can you put on your camera there, Coach Rod, if you're listening?
He better be listening.
Better be listening. Sure. I'll see. Okay.
So let me go ahead and ask him to start his video. Let's see. He's also on the call team, so he may be taking a call.
Okay. All right. No worries. So, okay. So because I talked to, I got a phone number from somebody, or somebody called me from Rod, who was dealing with and this was about 6 weeks ago, who was dealing with kidney disease and all of the issues with metabolic syndrome. And I wanted to see how that person was doing, because I told him everything that, we talked about today. Was
it somebody's daughter, possibly?
No, it was an older gentleman.
No? Oh, okay. Okay. Because I know that we do have a mama here on the line with us. Hopefully she'll raise her hand, Rosie, and ask questions, whose daughter is looking with kidney conditions. So,
okay.
But we do have lots of hands up.
Let's let them in. Let's try and get as many as we can. I do have to go at 2:00.
Yep. Let's go ahead and get some questions answered, folks. If you were shared this program by somebody specific, please make sure that you get back with them and say, hey, I want more information. I want to get on the program that Pharmacist Ben was talking about, and start taking back my health. So if there's nobody to thank, give our call team a call at 855-949-3377. And one of the certified holistic health coaches on my team will be happy to assist you. First, let's go to KB. So KB, let me get up there.
Keely Bendick?
Nope, this is a different KB.
Different KB.
And if I am correct, is this Carrie?
Yep, it's me. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, Carrie.
Hi. Thank you
Carrie.
so much, Becca. Hi. This will be a little bit off topic, but thank you for this information. I thought it was amazing. I'm going to have to re-listen to it. I have a potential client that has a child that was VAX injured and ended up with autism.
Okay.
He's functional but nonverbal.
Okay.
And then, of course, has the typical outburst.
Okay.
And since she's only about 8, I just wanted some guidance about kind of how to approach her.
Okay, couple things. First of all, anybody who's dealing with autism or any kind of child psychology issues should get the gut and psychology syndrome book, the GAPS diet, gut and psychology syndrome diet book. I think it's just called the gut and psychology syndrome book, but it refers to something called the GAPS diet by Natasha Kinsky-Campbell. And she gives you a whole protocol on digestive health and autism. And autism should first and foremost be regarded as a food and digestive health condition. That's the first thing you want to do. You will make, and this is not just true for autism, which is a form of psychosis, but any psychotic issues, including schizophrenia, should always be regarded as a digestive or intestinal, specifically an intestinal issue, and involving SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, leaky gut, and foods, specific foods. Given with the kind of foods people eat, that should make perfect sense. Or kids eat, that should make perfect sense. Now, there's also a very important relationship between the B complex, the B vitamins, and mental health and brain health, organic brain health or psychological issues. And that's where your A BTT comes in. In fact, one of the most important things about the BTT is the fact that it's absolutely loaded with all of the B complex, and the child should be on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. And I would also use the ultimate niacin. Niacin is not only important for we talked about, I think we've talked about niacin for dementia, but it's also important because of its relationship to metabolic syndrome, but it's also just important for brain health. In fact, I was just reading how niacin or a nicotine is being used to improve immune function and improve mental health function. Turns out the nicotine has a chemical structure that's very similar to niacin, although nicotine's a poison and niacin is an essential nutrient. And there's a lot of folks who think, a lot of researchers who believe that smoking may be a way that people who have anxiety issues or mental health issues are self-medicating to improve niacin deficiency symptoms. So for anybody out there who's trying to quit smoking, you might want to consider using your ultimate niacin and supplement with the ultimate niacin. And by the way, sometimes people will say, oh, I don't like the ultimate niacin because I get the flush, the niacin flush. If you get the niacin flush, that's a sign, A, that you need more ultimate EFAs. The ultimate EFAs are one of the ways, or anti-inflammatory, and they're one of the ways or one of the strategies you can use to improve, to be able to take niacin without getting the niacin flush. Also, the niacin flush tends to go away once you've been taking niacin for a while. And also, if you take your niacin with food, the niacin flush does not occur as readily. And fourthly, the niacin flush is a sign that you really needed the niacin. Because the more niacin deficient you are, the faster your body is going to absorb the niacin. So niacin is important for the child who's dealing with the autism issues, as well as digestive support, the nightly essence, probiotics. I think we have the Daily Digest back. That might help. And then also eliminating problem foods, anything that gluten, of course, but also lectins and other kinds of plant defense molecules can be associated with disturbances at the level of the digestive system. I'm not sure necessarily if the ultimate enzymes would help, but that might be something else that you want to try. And then, of course, the SIBO remedy, which is the I-26, as long as the the child doesn't have issues with eggs, because I-26 is powdered egg. I-26 is technically referred to as hyperimmune egg, which is because it's called hyperimmune egg because it's I-26 is egg powder that comes from eggs, which have been laid by chickens, which have been inoculated with bacteria that stimulate the immune system of the chicken, which then deposits the immune factors in the eggs, which we can then eat. When we eat them, they help kill off those excess bacteria in the small intestine. So if the child doesn't have egg issues, and some of them do, the I-26 is also something to think of.
That is a great recommendation. Thank you so much for that. As we do have about 7 more people with their hands up, let's do some rapid fire.
Okay.
So the next question, the individual with their hand up had to take a call for work. She wants to know, what are your thoughts about LDN naltrexone?
Yeah. Low dose naltrexone. For what?
For Hashimoto's and autoimmune problems.
Pretty silly is my thought. LDN naltrexone has some pain relieving properties for folks who are dealing with chronic pain issues. Naltrexone, by the way, is is a drug that they'll give you when you're trying to wean. It was developed for weaning people off of opiates. Naltrexone was given to people who wanted to get off heroin, is how it started. Now they use it for pain relief, for pain pills, opiate pain pills. But then it was discovered that LDN or naltrexone, LD stands for low dose. Naltrexone, when it's given in low dose, can also have some benefits for folks who are dealing with pancreatic issues or chronic pain issues. And so they've come to use naltrexone for other things. However, Hashimoto's, and what was the other thing that you said?
Hashimoto's and autoimmune problems.
Hashimoto's is an autoimmune problem. Hashimoto's is autoimmune disease of the thyroid. But here's the thing. Remember, we don't want to overthink, guys. Autoimmune disease is digestive disease. Period. End of story. You can either listen to me now, or you can wait 30 years for the official doctors to say, okay, it's a digestive problem. I've gone over the mechanism a million times. You go to the doctor, they'll tell you, oh, we don't know what causes it. You're going to be on the steroid the rest of your life. It's a mystery. We have no idea, blah, 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 blah. Anybody who understands even a little bit of biochemistry, which you guys just from listening to Doc talk and me talk every week or every day on this program understand. Autoimmune disease is a disease. First of all, you don't have to worry about autoimmune. Just remember immune. The autoimmune distinction is irrelevant. It's an immune disease. Where does your immune system live? In the digestive system. When toxicity gets into the blood, remember the blood's a sacred space, it initiates immune reactions. As the blood flows, those immune particles, which are leaking in from a leaky gut, deposit in the thyroid, deposit in the connective tissue, deposit in the pancreas, deposit in the various parts of the body, the nerves, all the different parts of the body, and then the body attacks that part of the body, the thyroid, or the pancreas, or the myelin sheath on the nerves, or wherever it is. It doesn't matter. The fact is, autoimmune disease is a classic manifestation of dirty blood. Don't overthink. If you want to test it, you can test this yourself, and you should always test. You know, my favorite Ronald Reagan quote. You guys probably don't. Well, some of you remember Ronald Reagan, but that was a long time ago. He said, "Trust yet verify." Remember that? Trust yet verify. I don't want anybody trusting me. If you have an autoimmune disease, number one, fast for a couple of days. Watch what happens. You don't have to believe me. Just watch what happens. You'll notice your symptoms start to subside. Number two, if you have an autoimmune disease, notice that your symptoms flare up when you eat certain foods. And if you have an autoimmune disease, do a food diary and start to eliminate foods that are problematic, whether it's gluten or whether it's other lectins or whether it's the FODMAPs foods or whatever it is. Food diary, watch for your symptoms to flare up, and then eliminate that food. Then you use your digestive support supplements. And Longevity excels at formulations that help support digestive health. Obviously, I-26, which we just talked about, is a must-have for anybody who is dealing with an autoimmune problem. The ultimate enzymes are not only great for dealing with autoimmunity by helping you process your food, helping you break down your food, but they'll also have anti-inflammatory and pain-relieving properties. So if you take them on an empty stomach, you get pain relief and anti-inflammatory benefits as well, which makes them tremendously multifunctional. The Nightly Essence, Dr. Ariaza's liver cleanse, I forgot to mention that. Love Dr. Ariaza's liver cleanse. That's another great digestive health supplement. And then we have, of course, the Daily Digest. Now, the Hashimoto's is especially insidious because the thyroid regulates the intestine. And so once you deal with Hashimoto's, now you have even you further compromised intestinal health, which leads to more dysglycemia, which leads to more hypothyroidism, which leads to more further impairment of digestive health. And you get this downward spiral. So the tip of the triangle, that's especially insidious when you're dealing with Hashimoto's. And guess what, people? There is nothing in the doctor's magical bag of tricks that will help you if you have Hashimoto's thyroid. Nothing. They'll give you Synthroid or they'll give you thyroid hormone, but that doesn't help the thyroid. Thyroid hormone doesn't help the thyroid. Thyroid hormone may give you some thyroid hormone benefits, but the gland is still going to be messed up. And what's worse, hormones are supposed to fluctuate. The body is supposed to be responsive to the environment, and its responsiveness is mediated or controlled by hormones. So if you have a steady state of hormones, the same amount of hormones going in your body through a drug, you've now deprived the body of its ability to regulate the environment. That's not the solution. Yet, that's the only thing that they can do, because you can't work on the thyroid with drugs, but you can with the triangle. So, surprise, surprise, digestive health issues, irritable bowel syndrome, ulcerative colitis, leaky gut, all linked to hypothyroidism. Surprise, surprise, dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar, linked to hypothyroidism. Surprise, surprise, elevated Where have you heard those 3 points before? The triangle of disease. Hypothyroidism is the end result of breakdowns at the 3 points. Work on the 3 points. That's the only way you can deal with the thyroid. Without that, there's nothing. It's a waste. Going to the doctor is a waste of time. And not only that, but if you have any chronic health condition, you can assume you're hypothyroid. Just assume it. You don't need your thyroid tested. Just assume it. They'll say, oh, you're TSH, you're reverse thyroid, you're this and that, your thyroid antibodies, blah, 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 blah. Don't worry about it. If you have autoimmunity, if you have heart disease, if you have kidney disease, if you have fatty liver, you're hypothyroid. Just rely on that. I mean, you can look it up if you want. You can see you can look up hypothyroidism in any disease you want, and you'll see a relationship between hypothyroidism and chronic degenerative disease. But it's just common sense if you understand what the thyroid does. It controls everything.
And you can go to DailywithDoc.com and find Pharmacist Ben's lecture on the triangle of disease. Let's go ahead and go over to Phyllis real quick, as she has a couple questions coming in from YouTube.
Yes, and our first one is a two-parter from Repulsify. And he wants to know, number one, the early signs of kidney disease. Number two, the best diet, which I think you've already covered pretty well here today with
the best diet for what? For kidney disease?
Yes.
Well, yeah. Well, what do you think?
Avoiding
right.
things that spike your blood sugar.
Exactly. Avoiding things that spike your blood sugar and avoiding the first 2 points on the triangle of disease. So what does the kidney do? It filters the blood. So anything from fatigue to swelling to edema to shortness of breath to protein in the urine to nausea, itching. That's one of the things that happens. Deposition of toxins in the skin can initiate immune reactions in the skin. So itching, mysterious itching can also be associated with kidney disease. Hypertension can be associated with kidney disease. Puffiness, sometimes eye bags can be associated with kidney disease. By the way, people have eye bags. They always want a skin product for their eye bags. There's not a skin problem, eye bags. Eye bags are a circulatory problem. Anytime you have a circulatory problem, you want to be thinking about the kidneys. If you go into the bathroom a lot, going to the bathroom, or you're very, very thirsty, those can be early signs of blood sugar problems that are associated with kidney disease. Cramping. Forgot to mention the kidneys filter out are responsible for keeping electrolytes balanced. And by the way, beyond tangy tangerine, in addition to being a B complex nutritional supplement, is an incredible electrolyte supplement, and also the rebound. Forgot to mention the rebound FX. So anybody who's worried about kidney disease or who has kidney disease, your Beyond Tangy Tangerine and your Rebound FX are wonderful sources of electrolytes. Sometimes people get a metallic taste in their mouth when they have kidney issues. That can be a sign of zinc deficiencies, which are associated with kidney disease. So all of the and urine problems, as I mentioned, those are also early signs of kidney disease.
Our second question is from Bruce. He and his wife recently moved from California to Florida. His wife's ankles are swelling up a little bit, and he wonders, what should she take beyond the basic 90 nutrients?
For swelling, you want to look for other health challenges, because I don't know what the swelling is due to, but I would guess it has to do with the circulatory system and kidney and kidney issues. So the healthy brain heart pack, healthy blood sugar pack. Now the healthy brain heart, correct me if I'm wrong, Rebecca or Phyllis, the healthy brain and heart pack is very similar to the healthy blood sugar pack, with the exception of, I think, the ultimate selenium. Is that right? What's the difference? It's the ultimate selenium.
Extra selenium, extra essential fatty acids.
In the brain and heart pack.
Yeah.
Yeah. So get on the brain and heart pack, but throw in the ultimate niacin and throw in the sweeties.
All right. Back
and
to
then
you.
If there's any digestive health issues which can cause blood to leak out of the intestine, histamine is also associated with this blood leakage, if you will, or edema. And then any digestive health strategies for histamine, SIBO, et cetera. That's the I-26 and the ultimate enzymes and all the things we talk about for digestion.
That's great. Wonderful show today. Back to you, Becca.
All right. Thank you so much, Pharmacist Ben. And he also had a question in regards to swelling.
Swelling is fluid leaking from the blood vessels.
Okay, so you touched on that.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you so much. Let's go right over to AJ.
Pharmacist Ben, wealth of information. Don't write your book without my help, and I know a Dr. Wallach who may publish it.
Who's that? Who said that? Is that you?
Yeah, that's yeah. So just real quick, we had a question on YouTube regarding for an elderly person on Eliquis, are there any supplements they should avoid?
No, you should never avoid supplements. I always find that to be an ironic question when I hear that. Like, why would you ever avoid nutrition? Well, like, what's the upside to avoiding nutrients? So your Eliquis will work. In fact, nutrition makes your drugs work better. Remember this, nutrients help your drugs work more efficiently. In fact, if you're on nutrients, eventually you'll be able to lower your dose on your medication, including your Eliquis. If you start using essential fatty acids, which have a blood thinning effect, if you're drinking more water, which has a blood thinning effect, if you're improving kidney and liver function, which can have a blood thinning effect, if you're improving digestive health, which can have a blood thinning effect, if you take in your Fucoid Z, which can have a blood thinning effect, you're going to be able to reduce your dose on your poison, on your Eliquis. And that should always be the goal. When you're on poison medication, when you're on toxins, and that's no getting around it, that's what they do. They poison the body. Your goal should be to gradually wean yourself off of that medication. So the more nutrients you're taking, the easier it's going to be to lower your dose and eventually wean yourself. Now, I do want to say, if you go to a doctor, you have a de facto agreement with that doctor. So you can't just go to the doctor and then go do your own thing and then come back to the doctor, because he's trying to work with you. And as misguided as he may be, he's still trying to work with you. And you have an agreement that you're going to work with him. So you don't have to do what he's going to, you don't have to take his orders. You know, some people say, oh, my doctor ordered me. I love hearing that. My doctor ordered me, right? You don't have to take orders. You're an independent person. You don't take orders. Slavery was abolished a long time ago. He's not your master, but you do have to tell him what you're doing so he can work with you appropriately. Hey, I want to wean myself off my Eliquis. Oh, no, you're not going to do that. Yes, I am. I am going to wean myself off my Eliquis. I'm only telling you what I'm doing. And sometimes the doctor will say, oh, well, you better find another doctor. So you say, okay, I'll find another doctor. That's how you work with that. So you tell the doctor what you're doing. I want to wean myself off my statin drug. I want to wean myself off my Zoloft. I want to wean myself off my Eliquis. I'm going to do it by starting the Fucoid Z, by starting on the healthy brain and heart pack, by working on my digestive health, et cetera, et cetera. And I forgot to mention that blood sugar dysglycemia will also cause blood clotting, just like changes in acid. Elevated blood sugar will cause blood to clot or blood to thicken, and a drop in pH will also cause blood to thicken. Of course, that comes from the kidney. And last thing I forgot to mention, you can't really alkalinize the blood with foods or with alkaline water. You know, sometimes people will drink alkaline water. There's a famous book that came out in the 90s called Alkalinize or Die, which talks about foods that are alkaline forming and acid forming. The best way to alkalinize the blood is by oxygenating it. Oxygen keeps the blood alkaline, and deficiencies in oxygen will cause the blood to thicken. The deficiencies in oxygen can be caused by respiratory issues, but it can also be caused by inflammation, which of course is, you know, the triangle of disease. All right.
All right. Well,
You're the
you
bomb.
have a
Thank you.
Hey, there's Rod. Can I ask Rod real quick? I'm going to ask you. Rod, turn on your unmute.
Rod, bring your
Hey, who was that guy? Remember you turned me on to a couple, an older gentleman and his wife about 6 weeks ago, and I put him on some program. Do you remember that?
Yes.
How are they doing? Have you talked to them?
I haven't followed up on what they're doing and what they're taking or anything like that.
All right, give me a call when you get a chance, will you?
Okay.
Call me offline. Thanks, Rod. You look great in
all
pink.
right.
You look great in pink.
And Rod, as a co-host, you might as well stay on the line, because I'd like to have all of my co-hosts up here on the screen with us. Pharmacist Ben, I know you have a hard stop. We are 3 minutes over. Thank you again for another absolutely fantastic episode of Pharmacist Fridays on Daily with Doc. And folks, you can just do a Google search or whatever search engine you use for Daily with Doc. You will find all of our information that we have put up all across the different platforms. of the internet. We are here to make sure people get the information that they need and tools in their toolbox to be able to help themselves become their own authority and take back their health so that they can have that health journey to having optimal health. So, Pharmacist Ben, thank you.
Thank
Dr.
you,
Wallach,
Becca.
thank you. We appreciate you both in being leaders within this industry and helping people. And that's all what it's all about. Is we help each other, we're able to help people around the world. We don't want to keep this information to ourselves like so many people do. We want people to be empowered. And I can't do this by myself, so I have this amazing team that helps us get this information out. As we have Phyllis, who's been with Dr. Wallach probably the longest of anybody on this screen, her and her husband Andy, as they were very instrumental in getting Dr. Wallach on the radio, syndicated across the United States. We have Marilyn, who is here with us. And if you're here live with us in the Zoom room, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, some Tuesdays, you will see her talents as she is putting information into the chat and doing the dictation so you can see it in black and white, because I know Dr. Wallach speaks fast, I speak fast, Pharmacist Ben speaks fast, but she's able to type even faster. So thank you, Marilyn, for sharing that talent with us. We have Ruth Ellen, who is my executive prediction manager, who helps keep us all organized. So thank you so much, Ruth Ellen, for helping do that. We appreciate you. We have Coach Rod, who is helping keep an eye on the different platforms and bringing in questions as he sees questions, and also keeping an eye on the cameras, as we want to make sure this is a family-friendly place for everybody. So folks, we're watching. We really are. We have Albert, who's also keeping an eye on those cameras and letting people in, as he is joining us here from South Africa. And we are truly an international group and company. We love you all. We also have AJ, who is one of my production managers, who is very instrumental in getting us on these different platforms and making sure that we are tied in to, we see you, Doc. I'm getting to you. I'm saving the best for last. Just hold your pants. Because if we weren't on these different platforms, we wouldn't be able to meet people where they're at. And we have the one and only, the man who has started this whole crusade, Dr. Joel Wallach, who is just absolutely, as Ben said, an amazing author who has now authored 25 books, and he is holding up the front cover of the newest book, which, Doc, you can put that down because I got the actual book. You do too. It's there somewhere. I know you do. And he has been talking about the metabolic syndrome for the last 20 years, starting with the publication of Hell's Kitchen, where chapter 14 talks about metabolic syndrome as well. So the two, metabolic syndrome, Hell's Kitchen, you want to get them both so you get the full picture. And you can do that at drjwallach.com, which is Dr. Wallach's Wellness Publications bookstore. So did I forget anything? No, I think I got it all, folks. My name is Becca Dukes, as the hostess of this program and also the Director of Student Services for the Institute of Holistic Health, where we are training people just like you how to look at the 4 areas of health, how they're affected by nutritional deficiencies, and the solutions that actually work at being able to correct those deficiencies. But we don't just look at that. We look at the body as a whole, which is why we say holistic with a W, because there are 8 areas that we want to look at so that we can have optimal life all the way around. So get with the person that shared this program with you. If there is no one to thank, then we just would like to invite you to give us a call at 855-949-3377. If you'd like information about the nutritional program that would be a best fit for you or joining us on this crusade, that is the number to call if you are not working with anybody and you have never tried the products before. 855-949-3377, or if you prefer, email info@criticalhealthnews. No. That comes to me. My email's full. info@DailywithDoc.com. info@DailywithDoc.com. And we have a team that are monitoring that so we can get quick answers to each and every one. So folks, thank you so much again for joining us here on Daily with Doc. Have a fabulous weekend. And don't forget, you're worth the time and investment in your health. Bye for now. Educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. Educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.